Okay, Professor Jim Schultz here for my Finance 680 students. I wanted to go and shoot this video. As you can see, it is March 26th. And so the first video I shot a few days ago, actually when I went to load that file up today, it did not render properly, and so you could only hear my voice. You could not see the screen. And so I said, yeah, that's probably not going to work. So we're going to do this again and hopefully have a better outcome. And so this video is dedicated to showing you guys, or reminding you guys, depending on where you're at on the learning curve, how to calculate NPV, IRR, and Payback. Specifically NPV and IRR in the calculator, but I thought I would go ahead and include Payback in here since we don't really do that in class. And so we've got this little project, this little 4-year project that we're going to use to perform these calculations on. There's a $2,000 investment today, and then it's followed by $400 in the first year, $900 in the second year, $1,000 in the third year, and $600 in the final and fourth year. And the discount rate for this project is 10%. Okay, so how do you compute NPV in your calculator? All right. The first thing you want to do before you ever do an NPV or IRR problem is clear your work. How do you do that? You press cash flow, then you press the second button that's yellow and in the upper left hand area of the calculator, and then you press CEC in the bottom left hand corner. That will clear your work from any previous problems. This is critically important because the calculator will remember previous entries, and you will think you're doing it right, but you'll get wrong answers because there are cash flows lingering out there from previous problems. Okay, so once you do that, let me scroll down a little bit more to get all this on my screen here. That looks good. Once you do that, you press the cash flow button again. The way I have this written and the way that this is set up, anything that you see in quotations is what you see on the screen. So once you press cash flow, you will see CF0. The calculator is basically asking you what is the initial cash flow. So you key in 2,000, you make it negative, and then you press the enter key on the top row. You press the enter key on the top row, not the equal sign. And then also on the top row, you press the down arrow, and that cycles down to the next entry in the cash flow register. Next, you see CO1. Now, CO1, the calculator is asking you what is the first cash flow. It was 400, so you key in 400, enter, down. Then that brings us to F01. Whenever you see a C, that's a cash flow. Whenever you see an F, that is a frequency, meaning how many times does this cash flow occur? Now, if we scroll back up to the timeline here, you can see none of the cash flows repeat themselves. So this makes it kind of simple. Our frequencies will always be set to 1. Okay, now here's a tip that I have for you guys. Even if a cash flow repeats itself, I would encourage you to just always keep your frequency set to 1 and just manually enter any repeating cash flows. Yes, it takes a little extra time, but honestly, I've seen students make a lot of mistakes when they start janking around with their frequencies. And so I think to make your life a little bit easier, I would just always keep your frequency set to 1. So F01 is 1, enter down. You can kind of see the pattern that is emerging. C02 is 900, enter down. F02 is 1, enter down. C03 is 1,000, enter down. F03 is 1, enter down. C04 is 600, enter down. F04 is 1, enter down. Now, when you do that a few times, it's going to be a lot quicker than what we just did there. That seems kind of tedious, but you can really rifle through these things pretty quickly when you get experience with them, or when you get more experience with them. So that's going to bring you to the C05 screen. Now, for this example, we do not have a fifth cash flow. So now that all of your cash flows have successfully been entered, you want to begin the net present value calculation process. So to do that, I just kind of went up here to maximize the space on the sheet. You want to press compute, the same compute button we've been using, and then you press NPV, which is second row, middle column. When you press compute NPV, the I screen is going to pop up. The calculator is basically saying, hey, I can finish this problem, but I need to know what the interest rate is. Because as we know, in any time value of money problem, there has to be an interest rate. So that's where you enter 10 that we had from up here. I is 10. You key in 10, you press enter and then down. It brings you back to the NPV screen. And then you press compute. And that's it. When you do that, I actually scanned this sheet before I wrote in the answer. So the answer should be $268.56. And so that is the answer to this example. So if you got that answer, you know you did this correctly. 268.56. So that is the net present value of this project. All right, so scrolling down to the IRR. Once you know how to do NPV, IRR is actually very simple because the cash flow steps are identical to NPV. So all these first steps right here that I'm kind of hovering around, they're all the exact same. So clear all your work and then re-enter all your cash flows. And when you get to C05, that's when you proceed to this second bullet point. When you have entered all the cash flows, you press compute IRR and then compute. That is all you have to do. That is all you have to press. And again, I scanned this sheet before I wrote the answer down. The answer is 15.67%. So if you get 15.67, you have done this correctly. So that is how you work an NPV problem or an IRR problem in the calculator. Now, how do you show your work for the purposes of a quiz or an exam or homework problem? First, put up a timeline. Construct the timeline, show me where the cash flows are and when they are occurring. That would be the first thing you should do. The second thing you want to do, you do not have to write all these steps. That's not a good use of your time. I know all the steps. You don't need to write the steps. But what you need to do is maybe just write CF0 underneath that minus 2000, CF1, CF2, CF3, CF4. Just give me a little bit of guidance in the direction that you were headed, so that way if you happen to get it wrong, I can see where you were headed and see, oh, she had everything right or he had everything right. It was just a misclick or something like that. So this is really for your benefit to go ahead and show this work. Okay, so that is how you would show the work for an NPV or an IRR problem. Now to compute payback, this is very, very simple. Remember, payback is just how long does it take to recover our $2,000, or how long does it take to recover our initial investment. In this example, the initial investment was $2,000. And you might hear Crouton in the background. He's very excited about the payback method, and so he wanted to let you guys know that. But in the first year, the cash inflow from the first year is $400, and so after you receive that $400, there's still $1,600 left to recover. The second year is $900. After you receive the $900, there's $700 left to recover, and then in the final year, you get $1,000. Now, you only need 700 of that 1,000, okay? So you don't need the full year. You only need 700 of 1,000, or 7/10 of the third year. So your payback period is 2.7 years. This fraction right here is basically always going to be how much do you need divided by how much you get from that payback year. Okay, so that is how you solve NPV, IRR, and payback. So Professor Schultz and Crouton Schultz signing off. I'll see you guys next time.